welcome to Taking Stock. A few years ago, completely by accident, I happened upon a remarkable blues rock guitarist. I'd been surfing the web looking to convert my Yamaha XJ900S motorcycle, which was effectively my inheritance from an eccentric aunt, into something less dangerous and therefore more acceptable to my family, to wit, a really good guitar. Now, without wishing in any way to advertise, in my mind the words really good guitar translate as a Gibson Les Paul. As I say, I'm not advertising, but if anyone is listening in Memphis, my contact details are available if you want to endorse this view in, let's say, sponsorship terms. So I was looking at the Gibson website. One of the guitars they were promoting at the time was a named guitar. That's to say it had been built to the preferences of a guitar legend and had his name emblazoned along the fretboard. The only problem was that I had no knowledge whatsoever of the said guitar legend. The name meant nothing to me. So I went looking for him on the internet and for the first time in many years found a musician whose technical skills and musicality I found completely enthralling. So enthralling that as soon as I found out he was coming to the UK on tour, I went, at the age of 60, along with my oldest friend, who is also a guitar and guitar music aficionado, to an open-air concert the guitarist was giving at the Old Royal Naval College on the banks of the River Thames at Greenwich one evening in mid-July. It was amazing. A year or so later, we did it again, this time at Hampton Court Palace, and took another school friend with us, and the guitarist was still amazing. Well, I did a bit of research on the guitarist. It's not difficult. His story is well known. His dad was a jobbing rock musician in a relatively minor way and owned a guitar shop in upstate New York in the United States. So even as a boy, he was surrounded by guitars and music. He says that from the age of 4, having seen Eric Clapton in concert, he knew that he, in his own words, never wanted a proper job. What he wanted to do was play guitar and play the Royal Albert Hall. He spent every spare minute in his bedroom with his guitar, working out riffs from his favourite guitarists. Despite his parents urging him to go out and get some exercise, play stickball with his friends, he would practice over and over again, and over again, until he got it right, and could use those riffs to unlock and encourage his own guitar skills, so he could find his own musical voice. The fruit of that was him opening concerts for the great blues guitarist B.B. King at the age of 12. Can you believe that? Now, I know that he's in some senses not unique. Polymaths aside, meet a stone-cold genius in almost any field of human endeavour, and at heart you'll find a focused obsessive. They might be personable, sociable, friendly, but woe betide you if you get between a genius and the object or objects of his obsession. There's only going to be one winner, and trust me, it ain't going to be you. Strangely, in some ways, my favourite guitar genius has a deal in common with the founder of the church in which I minister. John Wesley, the Anglican priest whose true conversion we Methodists celebrate each year on the Sunday nearest the date of that conversion, 24th of May, was nothing if not obsessive about the state of his soul before he truly found God in a little house in Aldersgate Street in London in 1738. And subsequently, following that momentous evening, he was obsessed with the state of everyone else's soul. Wesley never let anyone, anything, any convention, or any conventional doctrine get between him and what he saw as his divinely appointed mission to spread scriptural holiness through the land by the proclamation of the evangelical faith, which is something the Methodist Church he reluctantly founded still holds as its core identifier and its primary purpose. Now, there is no doubt that Wesley was an obsessive. There's also no doubt that, not to put too fine a point on it, by all accounts, including obliquely and unintentionally his own, he was pretty near impossible to live with, whether within the church or out with it. Samuel Johnson, the noted lexicographer from Lichfield, remarked of Wesley that John Wesley's conversation is good, but he's never at leisure. He's always obliged to go at a certain hour. This is very disagreeable to a man who loves to fold his legs and have his talk out, as I do. After one particular meeting, which Wesley left immediately after dinner because he had allocated 2 hours to meeting Johnson, He, Wesley, was heard to fret as he waited at the door of his carriage that he had lost 10 minutes forever in his wait. He was that driven. Now, humanity needs its geniuses, obsessive or not. And though I or we might wonder at their genius and stand in awe of the results of it, I'm not sure the rest of us ought to envy them their gifts. So many of our geniuses are in their own ways troubled souls. So many find it hard to begin or have begun to sustain close personal relationships. Wesley married late in life. Very few people remember or even knew in the first place his wife's name. It was Mary Vasile, by the way. So disastrous was the marriage due to Wesley's obsession with travelling round the country overseeing his Methodist societies that Wesley was unaware of his wife's death until a week after her funeral. Now, I'm due to retire next year, speaking of death, or in the quaint phrase Methodism uses, to sit down. Amongst other things, regarding becoming a supernumerary, which is the official designation of retirees in the Methodist ministry, people wonder, how are you going to fill your time? I guess they fondly imagine that, as an ordained minister, one of Mr. Wesley's helpers, I share the obsessive and exclusive focus of our illustrious founder and will be bereft and spare wheel-like with the end of my itinerant ministry. To be honest, that would be akin to noticing that I own 3 guitars and therefore to assume I'm able faultlessly to play the famous riff from Goodbye to Love by the Carpenters, or that I possess a drawing board and quill pens and can therefore rival the exquisite work of Donald Jackson, the Queen's calligrapher, or that I own a set of golf clubs and am therefore able to break par at St Andrews in my spare time. In some ways, sadly, especially with the golf, I'd have to disappoint them. I love playing the guitar, and I love making calligraphy, and I love playing golf. But I'm not Clapton, Jackson or Faldo, and never will be. In terms of Christianity, neither am I John Wesley. But then, who is? Well, apart from John Wesley. Even more, who would want to be? Even his brother Charles, who was converted in a similar fashion a few days before John, could not match his zeal and his drive, but settled down with his beloved Sally and raised a talented family as he filled the very ordinary role of vicar in St Marylebone, London, and also fell out with Pope John, as his brother was sometimes dismissively known. Now, I want my fellow Christians to be involved with their faith, but I don't want them to be obsessed with their church, to be as broad-ranging in their interests as it's possible to be, to understand that the foundation upon which their lives are built is a foundation laid many generations ago by God in the life, death and resurrection of Jesus, and is theirs to be built upon, not to be left bare, to make a firm foundation for a fulfilled life of varied and diverse experiences in this subtle, diverse and variegated world. I thank God for the drive and talent of Wesley, Mozart, Donald Jackson, Eric Clapton. They gave us and give us much to ponder, much to celebrate, much to delight. As a society, we owe them much and should do more to foster and support such rare talents. But at the end of the day, the gospel is promulgated and proclaimed as much, maybe more, in the everyday and ordinary. For as Wesley finally discovered, God's good grace is found as much in the marketplace as it is in the monastery. Oh, my guitarist? His name is Joe Bonamassa. Check him out. You won't regret it. Stay safe, people.